this is Stella. Welcome back to the channel. Today I just want to talk about things that I thought were unique to the witnesses. Things that I was proud of when I was a witness, and somehow they proved to me that the witnesses is God's true religion and that they have the truth. So I have 5 things on my list. First, the International Brotherhood. Second, the Unified Doctrine. Third, the seal in the ministry. Fourth, clean organization. And fifth, JWs being well behaved. So this is just my own list, and if you have things that you were proud of when you were witnesses, please jump in by the comment section below, and I would love to hear your thoughts about this. So the purpose of this video is to debunk those very things in my list. And without further ado, let's start with International Brotherhood. So for me, this is somehow like a personal thing, because I felt it and I witnessed it myself. As a foreign worker, I was associated to different congregations in different countries. And I remember I gave a comment during the Watchtower study highlighting the love among the witnesses. I also said that it's reassuring to know that wherever I go, I will have spiritual brothers and sisters, and that there's always a congregation who will accept and adopt me. But later on, I found out how fragile and how very conditional this International Brotherhood is. And I learned it the hard way. Upon hearing my name announced at the end of the meeting, my so-called brothers and sisters unfriended and blocked me on social media. And whenever they see me on the streets, they will pretend I did not exist. Although I know the consequences of my disassociation, it still hit me hard. The pain is real, because I know deep inside I'm still the same person. I'm still their friend. The only thing that changed is I stopped believing. And they cannot forgive me for being that. They cannot accept me for being that. And doing further research, I found out that the shunning thing that the witnesses do puts them in the cult criteria. So basically, the organization is using this to manipulate us, emotionally blackmail us, and taking our family as hostages against us. So we will be forced to return to the organization. It's not a loving provision like they claim it to be. Actually, it's an evil thing to do. It's taking away our basic rights as human beings. And it's so sad to know that there are a lot of ex-members who committed suicide because of the isolation. It's just a very harsh thing to do to another human being. And so we go on to the next thing on my list, the Unified Doctrine. Well, I thought that this is very unique to the witnesses, because I thought I was very proud of the headquarters providing us with the same schedule to all the congregations around the world. One schedule for the Watchtower study, for the Theocratic Ministry School, for the service meeting, for the congregation book study, the daily text, and we have the same programs for the assemblies and the conventions, and the elders have the same public talk materials. So yeah, I thought that this is very special for the witnesses, but it turned out that they are just information control. One criteria for the cult thing. But even though how much the organization tried to control the information, there are still brothers and sisters who gives different interpretation. And I noticed it during the talks given by the elders. Some will give different interpretations on Bible verses or some policies or doctrines, and they will use it as something to justify their action, or use it as an excuse, or use it to push their own agendas to the congregation. And also I noticed some things with the translations of the publications, that they give up different vibes depending on the translators. Sometimes I will get confused with Tagalog words, and then when I check it to the English version, it's a little bit different, and I imagine how much the confusion this will bring to other brothers and sisters when they see a certain language translated in their own language and will give different interpretation on it. And also with regards to the new light thing, the witnesses cannot keep up with the ever-changing doctrines of the witnesses. And I noticed that there are witnesses who will stick to the old light. Some will adapt to the new light, and some will give different ideas or different interpretation to this thing. So it's not really a unified doctrine, it's just control. And there are still independent ideas within the members. So yeah, that's not really unified doctrine. So third on my list is the seal in the ministry. Well, before, I find it highly commendable to reach for 70 hours a month for regular pioneers, and for publishers it's very highly commendable if they get to have 10 to 20 hours a month in the field service. And I thought that the witnesses were the only ones who were zealous enough to knock on people's doors. But later on I found out that this reaching for goals is just a manipulating tactic from the organization, just to keep the members busy so they will not have time to double check the information given to them. So they will just readily accept whatever the governing body is spoon-feeding them. No time to do fact-checking. And I also noticed the brothers and sisters going out in the field ministry, that they're not really eager. They're not really eagerly searching for those who want to know the truth. They're out there just to kill off time, just to have hours and placements to put on their field service report every month. Not really to save people's lives. So it's just statistics for me. So they will not be inactive. And also I noticed the other religions doing much more tangible help than the witnesses. The witnesses just provide spiritual food, like offering free home Bible studies. But other religions, you will see them doing charitable works like medical missions, teaching and empowering other people to be self-sufficient, providing skills, giving disaster relief, feeding programs, things like that. Although the witnesses will do some disaster relief programs, but they will do it on their own members. But other religions will do a better job at it, and you can see it for yourself. Other religions will provide schools, hospitals, and they will go at great lengths to help other people in a more productive way. And yeah, very different from the witnesses. So it's not unique to the witnesses to do things. So fourth on my list is clean organization. Well, I was very naive to think that the witnesses is a clean organization. And I believed that for 42 years until I got acquainted with the Australian Royal Commission, and I found out that there were 1,006 alleged pedophiles who committed 1,800 cases of child sex abuse that were pushed under the rug, and that the victims suffered unloving interrogation, blame shifting, and they were forced to see their molesters welcome back to the organization, and they were forced to forgive their molesters as brothers. It's just a dirty thing to do, you know, and it's cringy and scary because other kids are vulnerable to danger, not just the kids inside the organization, but the children outside the organization, which were exposed to pedophiles knocking on their doors. So this is just one thing, the Australian Royal Commission thing. How much more if the witnesses will do further research and just type in Jehovah's Witnesses and child sex abuse in the internet and see how much information, how many articles they will see pop in. Just too many. And if they do further research, they will find out about the Watchtower being a member of the United Nations. And for 9 years, while we were studying the Revelation book, they only resigned from the United Nations after they got busted by the Guardian newspaper. And so also there's this issue about the Malawi and Mexico affair, how both countries face the same neutrality issue, but receive different treatment from the organization. The Malawian brothers and sisters face unspeakable atrocities, persecution, and even death because they were not allowed to buy the political cards and they were forced to remain loyal to the organization. While the brothers in Mexico, they were allowed to use their conscience and they were allowed to bribe the government officials so they could escape military service. And also there's this issue with the Watchtower changing their stand on military and blood thing when they want to register in Bulgaria. So yeah, it's like they compromise, so they will get registered. They change their policy. So yeah, that's just a dirty thing to do. I mean, they can do that, but we cannot do that. And yeah, that's just a few things I mentioned. If you do further research, you'll find more things that the Watchtower is hiding. So many more things, like how they use the money and how they put it on stocks. And about the last thing on my list of well-behaved J-dubs. Well, I thought that the witnesses were pretty well-behaved, but in reality, they're not. They're just pretending to be well-behaved. Yeah, they're good JWs, but there are also who were living double lives. Like they pretend to be holy inside the congregation, but they are a different person at school, at work, and at home. And there are also certain people who pretended to be well-behaved, but in reality they are just grooming their victims, or they grooming the whole congregation so they could get into their victims. And also this pretending to be well-behaved, it's just a reflection of what kind of organization the witnesses has. The organization itself is pretending to be well-behaved, but in reality it is rotten inside. It's hiding so many things, and it is narcissistic, manipulative. It's not concerned about the safety or the well-being of its members, but it is obsessed with its own reputation. So yeah, witnesses now, the organization itself is not really well behaved. There are lots of brothers and sisters who are gossipers, who are backstabbers, who are keeping watch of each other, and taking each other down. So you don't really feel secure because what I learned upon this is I came up with so many excuses. Like, you find it so easy to make up excuses because somehow you don't want to get in trouble for some things that you shouldn't be guilty of. But yeah, they make you feel like that because everyone in the congregation is keeping watch on you, keeping watch on each other. So yeah. And kids in the congregation, they're not really well behaved. They behave like that because they were beaten by their parents. So they will act normal kids. They will sit down for hours inside the meetings or during the convention. Yeah, but the being well behaved, not really. Kids were basically abused, so they will behave. And we see it often, even during the meetings. Kids will be taken at the back of the Kingdom Hall, and because they're not behaving, and when they get back, you know that they're trying to dry their tears. So imagine that kids were being beaten during the meetings, and how much more when they get back home. For me, spanking is alright, but beating is an abuse. Discipline is different from abuse, and a lot of children inside the congregation suffered a lot from physical abuse from their own parents because they want to keep them in line, and this caused trauma, lifelong trauma within us. So yeah, that's all I want to share to you today. That's my debunking of my own personal list, and I hope you like this video. And if you have your own thoughts, your own experiences, please share them on the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear your experiences, and I hope to see you on the next video. And take care and have a great week. Bye bye.